Hey guys, welcome to Dumb Music Fans. This is our first video in a while. Um, and today we're reviewing Arcade Fire's debut album, Funeral, in 2004. Lee, you want to talk about that album?
Yeah, sure. So, this album is their first studio album. It came after some other smaller works, such as their self-titled EP. Um, just a little bit of background on the band. They're Canada-based. I believe Montreal. They're Montreal-based. They started working at the beginning of the century, about 2001. And a little bit more specifically on the album. This album is called Funeral because at the time, a lot of their a lot of the different band members had deaths in the family. So, I mean, I guess they found it fitting to call it Funeral. Let's get into the album.
Yeah, the first song on the album is called Neighborhoods 1, Tunnels. Personally, I thought this is a pretty strong song. I like kind of like reminiscent feeling in the lyrics. I think it's a pretty fitting intro for the rest of the album. A lot of the other songs on the album kind of sound like this, and this is definitely one of the stronger songs in my opinion too. So it's just a good way to start the album. Um, that's all I really have to say about it.
Reese?
Okay, yeah. I thought it was. I think Arcade Fire has like a certain theme to it that I guess will be shown throughout the rest of the songs, and I'll like more on the end. But I think that this song was kind of about the neighborhood. Anyway, no, I thought it was a good introduction to more of like the suburban themes that Arcade Fire has to show, and tying in suburban problems with kind of trying to connect to an audience that doesn't usually have a lot of songs written about them to connect with.
No, I agree with Reese. I think this first song is a very strong song. It's a great way to introduce the album. I think it kind of starts off a little slower, but then it kind of jumps into a pit full of energy. And I think just to bring in the listener, I think it does a really good job at that. I know some people are they think it's a little bit cheap to kind of have like portions of a song, such as like I think Hey Jude does it the best, like where the na 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 na. Like I've heard people and this song there's like I don't know the woos. I don't know how to describe it,
I
but
do that a lot on this album.
yeah, they do it a lot on this album. I think if you do it too much, it can be a little bit excessive, but I think in this album's case, I think the way they do start it, I like it. I think it's rhythm. The melody of it is pretty good. I think it's got some layers to it. It's not a cheap way out. If a cheap way out to introduce an album. So yeah, or a cheap way out to be a portion of the song. So yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, I feel like it works in most of the songs. I like the song too. The story is really nice. Uh, there's a snow. It's really oppressive. He's kind of hopeless, and then he kind of wants to build a tunnel out of this place to meet this girl and run away from like or I don't know, it could be someone else. He's wants to meet this person and run away and let their hair grow long, away from like judgment, away from expectations of their friends and family, turns the lead to gold for him. And I feel like the song itself has a really nice kind of forward momentum, like Lee said, and nice kind of build up to that climax where he's like talking about like the ash, like spreading the ashes of the colors all over his heart, which is kind of a nice contrast to that snow that trapped them in their houses at the beginning of the song. I thought it was pretty solid. Definitely consistent with the rest of the album in terms of sound as well.
Yeah. Second song is Neighborhoods 2, Laïka. I'm not sure what Laïka, I think it's the girl's name.
Laika was the dog that they sent out into space, I think.
Oh, the Russian dog?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I played a song on radio once that called the Space Dog. Anyways, so this song is it's definitely a little like noisier. It's like I think like the verses are a little bit like almost distorted in a way. Um, so I kind of like that aspect. Kind of changed it up a little bit, took away kind of like the gleam and glitter of the first track. Makes it a little more like rough around the edges, which I kind of liked. Um, I don't think it's as strong as the first track. I think some of the instrumentation is a little interesting. Some instrument in the background that reminds me of some like French kind of thing. I have no idea how to like describe this instrument. I'm really bad at that. But I don't know. I think it's a good solid song. Not as strong as the first song, but it kind of keeps the whole feeling of the album going.
To come off that, a couple of the band members. Well, the girl in the band, I can't. I'm not going to try and pronounce her name, but she's French Canadian, so maybe it could possibly come from that. You'll see a couple other things that's related to France, and she's also Haitian related.
I mean, Montreal, they speak French in Montreal, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. But she's like, just because you came from Montreal doesn't necessarily mean you're French, I guess.
Yeah, but I imagine there's French influence. I don't know. I'm sorry if you're from Montreal and you're watching this.
Montreal. Yes, but yeah, and she also has like Haitian belief. Just I think a couple of the songs you'll see they do like to integrate some of their cultural and just social backgrounds, I guess, into these songs. But this song specifically, yeah, I think it has a different kind of song. I think it structurally though it's kind of the same as Neighborhood Number One. I think, or not structurally, like more in the sense of how it's like it starts kind of like with that slower kind of feel and then kind of picks up towards the end of the song. I think it kind of has the same feel as Neighborhood's Number One. It definitely sounds a lot different though. I think that's definitely very much where you make the distinction. And as Quan was saying, I thought the instrumentation was very interesting, very different. Yeah. You don't hear a lot of stuff like that.
I looked it up. It's an accordion. I don't know why I couldn't identify it, but yeah, I thought that's a nice touch, like an accordion on like a rock song. I sign up for that.
Yeah. I think Arcade Fire does definitely do a good job of different instrumentations and whatnot and different sounds. Yes.
Yeah, Garrett.
I like this song. I like the distorted like kind of rock feel to the song. Yeah, so Quan thought it was the name of a girl. Laïka is the name of the dog, and has a lot to do with the kind of story of the song, because their older brother kind of they talk about how like he should have been named Laïka because he kind of paved the way for the other siblings in the family, and they talk about how he's kind of related to how the older brother feels kind of isolated, like how the dog was in space alone, and how this kind of helped pave the way for the children and the other people in the neighborhood who get to dance to these police disco lights, I guess, like that was a pretty cool image as well. But yeah, no, I don't think it's not my favorite song on the album though.
Yeah, by the way,
the song that I played was Space Dog Lives. Make sure to check it out.
Yes. Yeah, it wasn't my favorite song. I mean, Alexander, more like a.
Good one, Beast.
That's my favorite part is when he was bit by a vampire. That was interesting. But yeah, no, I like the imagery of the end, like talking about how when Daddy comes home, you always want to start a fight, and the neighbors dance to the police lights. I think that's somewhat domestically jarring of an image, but yeah, I thought lyrically it was interesting in the sense that kind of paved the way, maybe not in good, maybe not for bad, but kind of showed what life is like to the younger siblings. But lyrically, I mean, musically, I don't know, it wasn't that interesting to me. I mean, accordion's cool and all, but I thought it was one of their more boring songs to listen to.
Yeah, I think that like that family sort of conflict with the parents and stuff is definitely a strong theme, because in the first one, his parents are crying and he just wants to kind of run away from his family and stuff too. definitely pretty solid.
This next song is called something in French.
Reese,
A year
pronounce,
without light.
Reese, pronounce the
Oh,
French.
année sans lumière. It's a year without light.
Oh, great job, Reese. I'm proud of you.
Yes.
Um,
It is like me when I go inside for quarantine for a year.
you want to talk about it, Reese?
Do I want to talk about it? Yeah, I think this is one of the first songs I listened to within the album. And, that's cool. I mean, it also has French in it, jazzing it up. And it's, as you guys mentioned, one of the singers is French Canadian. So I think bringing your own culture into a song is always inherently very interesting. But yeah, I like the quick transitions between English and French. I mean, with that being said, while I do know French, it can be kind of hard to follow in terms of the meaning. But yeah, I do generally very much like the sound of switching from English to other languages, which is also reflected in my favorite band, if we ever listen to those guys.
Reese, who could that be?
I guess we have to listen to them.
Yes, maybe one day we will find out.
Yeah,
As for
so-
me,
Hey, I was saying you go ahead. Yeah.
okay. As for me, I thought this song was a little bit of a different song after the two neighborhoods. I mean, it is kind of, as you'll notice, it's kind of the segue between the neighborhood 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I don't know. I thought it was kind of cool. I mean, sometimes I think about it as like, because it's about lights and like in between neighborhoods, they're kind of separated by like street lights and roads and whatnot. So maybe this is a good segue to the next set of neighborhood songs. I don't know. Kind of thought about it like that. I don't know. Trying to figure out like why would they put that song in the middle between the neighborhood 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Yeah, but it's a solid song. I don't necessarily say it's something special. I think the usage of light in is good. I don't particularly speak French, so it's a little bit hard to follow when you just listen to it. But reading the lyrics, I mean, definitely paints a good picture in your head of what it's like to kind of just like be blind to the world in some senses. So yeah, I thought it was it was a good song, average for this album.
Yeah, it's kind of definitely not wowing or anything. It is a little like sad, I guess, when you have an album that kind of starts with like a song here and then kind of goes here and then kind of goes here. It's kind of like downward slope. It's definitely like a little slower. It's a lot less going on, I think. I definitely like the first two songs, and I feel like this song was like I'm kind of just like meh on. It didn't really do anything special for me. It's kind of pretty. Besides that, it was anything special at all.
Yeah, I have to agree. It's definitely not one of my favorite songs, but I thought it was like a okay, kind of love song, sort of. It actually adds to that kind of parent conflict kind of idea, because I think I looked up the translation, and it was about like someone disapproving of like these kids in a relationship, I think he's talking about how her father disapproves of them and how life would be without light, without her. And then, I don't know, I thought it was nice. It kind of had an uplifting ending too. I thought it was pretty solid. And like I feel like to add on to what Lee said, the lights are a big symbol in this album. And like, I think it seems to represent maybe like purpose. So without this light, he had no purpose. It was a year without the lights because their parents disapproved. And like in the first one, he talks about how this person was his hope. Like he tunneled to this person and ran away, and it gave him purpose and color. And so I definitely think in this song, not my favorite, but the lights seem to represent some sort of like purpose in life or meaning.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Which continues into the next song, which kind of has to do with there being no lights. Neighborhood 3
Flashlight.
power out.
Do you really keep talking about that?
Yeah, sure. And so it starts off. First of all, I thought like this is one of my. I really like this song. It's definitely one of my favorites on the album. It kind of continues that kind of forward momentum. I thought it was really unique too. So it starts off. They wake up without power, without any light. These kids are disillusioned. They're aimless. No parents are helping them. The parents' hands are cold.
That
I thought
happens
it was.
power outages, yes.
Yes, exactly. And so like these kids without any light, they kind of just wander around aimlessly. They're dying out in the snow, you know. And so it kind of transitions from it kind of talking about this, and then he starts getting angry at these parents and adults who are kind of hiding the light from them, who are neglecting them, who are letting them die out in the snow. And he's kind of aimless himself, wanting to pick a fight. And then it ends kind of hopefully, but still like with that anger, rebellious tone. And he's like, us kids have to take the power from our hearts, and we have to get the light from inside ourselves and put it out in our hands and light the way for ourselves. We can't rely on our parents. We kind of have to rebel against these adults and take control of our lives for ourselves. So I definitely thought in terms of the story was really fun. The message I thought was pretty interesting, and the whole song itself was definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah, and I think it's one of my favorite songs in the album too. I like how it's like kind of crazy it is. Like the vocals are a little like going crazy. I think it's a lot more aggressive and a lot more like I don't know, just kind of like haywire. I think one of my biggest like qualms with this album is the fact that it does feel like a little bit like too clean cut, too like glossy, too like produced at times. And this definitely like it still feels produced and stuff, but it feels a little more like off the Zoinkies, like crazy type of stuff. It's a reference to a JID song. Anyways, yeah. So I don't know. I think this feels like one of my favorite tracks in the album. And I think the hook, the kind of like I'm not sure it's like the hook, but like he's like kind of talking like really fast, like almost like in a kind of frantic, scared way. And I really like the sound of that.
Yeah. Just to go off kind of a little bit of what Gareth was saying, I think Arcade Fire does have like this entire album has a very loud tone of like rebellion. I mean, there's a song called Rebellion literally on this album, but I think every song you're going to hear a little bit of like, screw the man, I'm not going to do what my parents want to say, just those kind of like themes. And I think this really like encapsulates kind of the anger that like their anger. I mean, in a musical sense, like obviously it's loud. It's very like, it's not as like, as Quan was saying, clean cut. So yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite songs on the album. I think that there's an instrumental breakdown in the middle where you can just hear the guitars and drums kind of driving, but the bass line, bro, the bass line is just epic. It's just yeah, it really pushes this album forward after the last song, and yeah, I definitely think it's a very, very good song, very, very a different direction than you'd expect after hearing the previous song. But yeah, it's a really good song.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this song, out of like most of their songs, kind of encapsulates teenage angst.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that there's like the literal sense of suburban issues that this album comes represents. Like a power outage is inherently a suburban like nightmare. But in like in other sense, I do agree with Gareth in the sense that I think it was Gareth, maybe it was Juan, that was like talking about like how they're kind of kept in the dark by their parents, and I guess they're treated as kids, and even though teenagers are inherently kids, no one really wants to be told they're a kid. So I think like one of the two lines that like really hit me was like, I went out into the night, I went out just to pick a fight with anyone. And I mean, I think that like I think that this whole power outage, this whole darkness, this whole like night is just that I feel like to them this idea of rebellion is the fact that a lot of things are hidden by them by society or hidden from them by their parents, and they just are angry about it, and like that teenage angst is the fact that they just want to get a fight. They just have this inherent need to get into a fight, and I think this song encapsulates that very well.
And I feel
Yeah.
a lot of times, like when people get into fights in like movies or TV shows, it's usually because they're kind of aimless and they want to like feel something, like a Fight Club, I guess. They wanted to feel alive. They wanted to
Yo,
get into a fight.
Fight Club, best movie of all time. I'm sorry, I was gonna say that.
And then I think it has a lot to do with like sticking up to, because he says something's wrong with the heart of man, and it has a lot to do with the next song too, which is the what is it called? Neighborhood? Is it
Devin
Neighborhood?
Kettles.
Neighborhood
Kettles.
4 Kettles, and where
Devin Kettles.
where he's just talking about how like he wants something to change, and he's so sad about the state of the world, and he wants change. He knows it's coming, but he says himself, a watched pot won't ever boil, and so he just has to be patient for this change to come, and change the state of the world. But again, I don't think it's my favorite song on the album, Neighborhood 4. That's all I
Yeah,
have to say.
it's a little slow, bro.
Yeah.
It's like a little like and interesting. Like the instrumental is kind of like cool at first, and then it gets a little like boring after a while. There's not a lot going on overall. Probably my least favorite song on the album up to this point. Maybe even like overall, to be honest. Not a lot for me to really say here, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. Musically, it's quite boring. And I have to disagree with Gareth. I think this song is literally about a boiling kettle. I mean, he is literally talking about just some water getting hotter in the flames. It is literally just him boiling and something.
Wait, true, bro. Wait.
Yes, it is actually the only thing the song's about. There's no double
No
meaning.
metaphor.
No metaphor. He's actually singing this song while waiting for his tea.
Well, I think
I think that I mean I agree. I inherently think like this is a deal. Like don't watch the pot. Like if a watch pot won't boil. I mean it's like just like a seed down in the soil. Gotta give it time. I mean if you stare at like a seed, you're never really gonna see it's growing, but it is inherently, and you kind of just gotta know the fact that it is and accept the fact that it is, even though that change is incremental and sometimes unnoticeable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is my least favorite song on the album. It's honestly hard for me to choose a least favorite song in this album because I really like this album. But I personally the instrumentals. I like the guitar riff. I think sometimes to have a little bit more of a raw sounding song is not a bad thing, even if it does come off as a little bit boring. I think coming right after Power Outage or Power Out, it's kind of like that energy is like completely like diminished, I think, and just like turned into this kind of more slow, like acoustic raw sound. Well, I guess acoustic's not the right word, but just a little bit more of an open sounding song. Yeah, it is a little bit boring, but I think this kind of in some ways it kind of caps out this kind of all four neighborhoods and like just kind of talking about the world in general. I think the metaphor of the neighborhood has obviously been articulated as a metaphor for the state of the world and how they feel about the world. I think just in general, Arcade Fire is very like, they like to send a message like this. I mean, in some of their performances that they perform different songs, like they'll play Imagine. They do a lot of John Lennon. Sorry, this is a little bit of tangent, but they play a little bit of John Lennon. Like Imagine, they'll do stuff for the song Mind Games, just asking for like more love to the world and just like kind of a cold corporate world, that kind of thing. And I think that's exhibited in these sorts of, in this album for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So next up is, honestly, I think this is like solidly my favorite song on the album, "A Crown of Love." I think I'll talk about this more at the end. But I think up to this point, like on the whole album, I think my biggest complaint is that a lot of songs kind of feel like they have like one tone to it and that's it. Like I feel like it's just like kind of like, as much as I like the first song, for example, it feels like it's just like 4 minutes of like the same kind of sound that like changing it up that much. And this song right here, it kind of builds up. The song goes on. Like you have strings come in, it kind of gets more and more intense. The vocals get more passionate, and it's really just like the whole build up. I think it's catchy. Lyrically, I think it's really sad, and maybe it's not really like, deep in terms of just like talking about like suburban life and stuff. It's a little more just a basic love song. I still thought it was like just like the imagery of like a crown of love. I thought was kind of cool, and yeah, I don't know. I just think it hits harder than any other song on the album. Reese?
Yeah. I have to agree. I mean, I actually really like the kind of love. I think, I mean, again, I don't really want to always bring up suburban life, but I think suburban romance is kind of something interesting due to the fact that, I mean, I think all of us have been in high school, and the fact that matters, I think relationships.
I actually skipped high
Yes,
school.
no, I realized you did.
College,
Most of us. Sorry, I should have said most of us.
Yeah.
Quan went straight to Harvard. Anyway, I mean, I think one thing that that is kind of interesting in high school relationship is it's not really just a relationship; it's also the drama that goes on in the relationship. And I think one problem with that is that one of the lines is like if you let it, like. And I think that there's like somewhat a type of like there's maybe stigma against a relationship before the relationship even starts, or even due to the person themselves. So I think one of the things about this song is that like if you like a lot of like your affection in a relationship comes to the fact that if you're willing to even try out a relationship with a person. So I mean, the guy obviously really likes the other person he's singing to in the song. Like, you gotta be the one. You're the name. Your name is the only like word that like I'll say, stuff like that. So there's obviously some type of obsession with it. But I think like one of the meanings of the song is like, look, you could like me, like the crown of love can fit on your head, but like your I don't know, maybe like ignorance, naivety, like drama is prohibiting you from even reaching that point. It's like you could have something, but you're inherently like mentally holding yourself back. That's what I thought this song was about.
Yeah, I really like the song too. Definitely one of my favorites on the album. But I'd say it has to do more with getting over a relationship, because like I think one of the first lines is like, for you to get over it, you just pray for rain to wash it away. But for me, your name is like carved on my eyelids or something like that. So it starts off, he's like begging her to stay, of course. And then I just liked how the music builds up to this moment, the strings come in really, really dramatic, and he starts getting like a little more desperate. And then she's like, and then like halfway through the song, she says, she gives him a straight answer. She's like, okay, this is never gonna work out. And he talks about how his love grows like a cancer. I thought that line was pretty interesting too, like how his love keeps growing, but it's only causing him pain, and how like even when the relationship's over, the relationship is dead. It's a grave, but his love still grows when the flowers sprout on his grave. Like he says, his love grows like flowers on a grave. Even though the relationship is over, even though he knows it's done, his love is still growing for her. And then like at the end, he starts getting really desperate, and then it's kind of, I really like the build up at the end too. The ending was really nice.
Yeah.
Just he starts getting really desperate. The music starts getting really frantic, or more energetic. That was really nice. Definitely solid.
I think I've listened to every single Arcade Fire song that there is to listen to. I think this is definitely top five for sure. Like, just I think all the guys have said enough about enough about the song, but and I just more as a component of suburban lifestyle. Yeah, love is very much a component of suburban lifestyle. I think it might not necessarily, I don't know, try and express any further deeper meaning than that, but I do really think that that like a falling relationship is definitely very much a part of suburban lifestyle for sure. Maybe it's because we're all sad boys or something. But like this song really like speaks to me. I don't know. It was really just like an
No,
emotional touch.
no
I
simp.
I am a sad boy. Yes, I do
Um,
simp.
Yo, Joji, the best sad boy music though. I'm
and
sorry.
yeah, I mean, I just think it's a very strong song and really just I think love is definitely an emotion that you can really like scream to, like really like hone into if you need an emotion to sing about. And I think they really do a good job of honing into that in their own unique way. Because I think there's enough love, like crappy love songs out there that are just generic and to make money, in the industry. And I think this really has a unique touch to it. So yeah, very unique perspective of it to it as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This next song, bro. Yo, wake up. This song sounds like a freaking Walmart commercial, bro. This song sounds like it's gonna be like I just imagine like some like white lady looking like out of an airplane, like on American Airlines, and just playing the song like American Airlines will take you anywhere in the world. Like I don't know, something about this song just feels so like I think it just aged poorly for some reason. Like, I think the sound just like it's like indie rock kind of like faux inspirational, like inspiring kind of sound. Just like with like I'm talking specifically about like the chorus, like the kind of like the it's like that kind of like took over music in like 2011, 2013, 2012 era. Um, so like just I don't know, this track for me just kind of aged like poorly. It just sounds so cheesy and so just like I don't know, like gross in a way. That sounds kind of mean. Um, but like it's still a good song. I think the vocal performance is good and the switch up things pretty nice. I like the dragging guitars. That part of it like keeps me from like really embracing this track.
I mean, I'm gonna say um I feel like some songs nowadays, like I don't know, a lot of the rap culture, especially, like it's very much into that more like I'm not gonna say hardcore because there's many different types of rap, but it kind of strays away from that kind of more basic structure of like playing in C, C major, it just C's and G's, and I think yeah, it is a little bit
I mean,
uninteresting.
I'm a big indie rock. I'm not indie rock, like alternative rock. I'm a big fan.
No, but I'm not even speaking to indie rock or alternative. I'm just speaking to general music structure. Like I think people are usually more expected to hear like it kind of sounds like a little bit like a Riptide of sorts, like kind of same
A
chords,
little cheesy, corny.
yeah, a little cheesy, a little corny. I personally, I do like the song. It's not my favorite song on the album for sure. It's too much in the direction that you're speaking about. But it is their kind of anthem song, if for lack of a better word.
Well,
I
I
wouldn't
think
go as far as to call
millennial.
it a Walmart commercial, but
It's a Walmart commercial.
it's definitely
Yo,
like a
you can
very.
imagine it's like footage of like a family shopping for like Legos
I
at
think
Walmart.
I think
Just like
it's too
playing
like
this.
I think it's way too like uplifting to be a Walmart commercial song. Like a Walmart commercial, I think. Yeah, we don't need to get into this,
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't. Yeah, just I mean, it's a solid song. I mean, it's probably the most popular song on this album, if I were to guess. The
yeah,
one that
probably.
really struck it big, but not the best.
Yeah.
Yes. I was actually sleeping before I listened to this part of the album, so good thing this was the next
It woke you
song.
up.
I knew it is hilarious. Anyway, yeah, I think it's inherently the song that will catch someone's attention the first time they listen to the album, in the sense that I think it's the easiest to like find catchy just right off the bat. I think lyrically it's pretty interesting. I think I've heard this idea a lot in other songs, but just this idea like, look, like if people don't go up, their body might get bigger, but their like mental health doesn't really change, or it gets worse because as you go up, you go through more experiences, and as you go through more experiences, you can get torn up. So if you don't grow up, which I think inherently growing up for them meant like just getting over, or at least like dealing with your mental issues, then you're going to be torn apart, which seems to what the song to me is about. Like wake up, like realize you have problems, and I guess grow up about it. But yeah, I mean, I agree. I think anthem song is maybe the right word by Lee. I don't know. It's probably the song that most people I know who don't know who Arcade Fire is. It's a song that they seem to know. So It's also their #1 song on iTunes, so there's also that. But yeah, I thought it was overall an okay song. It wasn't my favorite. I think
Yeah.
I liked Crown of Love more, even though it preceded it and had like a whole different vibe.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like this song. It's definitely cheesy. Message. I mean, the message is kind of cheesy too, right? And he's talking about like these kids. Like, I'd actually disagree with. I agree with Reese on the most part, but I'd say he's kind of like sad about like these, like, because if you have a childish mindset, and he wants everyone to be chill. He says, "Be children while you can." You know, he's like, "Don't be afraid to hold your mistakes up, and don't be afraid to just be a child." But then he says, like, if like you can't survive if you have that kind of child like perception of the world, you know, and your heart will get torn up, you know. And I feel like he's definitely sad about that. But I do like that kind of switch into the more uplifting tone when he's talking, because I think that has a lot to do with the light. You know, he talks about how you have to take control of your life and don't let anyone tell you what to do. You're your own god, I guess. You can shoot lightning from your hands, and you have the light within yourself. You know, light and lightning makes sense. You can take control, and yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting. I like how lyrically and it like parallels that switch too. Um, that's pretty, like, not my favorite again, but still pretty solid.
Yeah. Um, I think the biggest problem is that "Wake Up" by Travis Scott and The Weeknd is better than this song. Uh, anyways, the next song on the album is "Haiti." Um, the song was really pretty. Uh, I like how they changed out the lead singer, kind of this um, added a little fresh taste, I guess, to the album. I don't know, the whole song, I think pretty is the best way to describe it. It just sounds really nice. It's not like super dramatic or anything, and just a fun, decent song.
I also agree the Haitian rebellion was very pretty and not
No,
dramatic.
I mean, but okay, it's like
No,
I
Quan, you
look at
are
what. No, I
canceled.
don't know. Instrumentally, it
Boys,
found like
we got him, boys.
Got
No,
them,
I
boys.
understand what you mean.
yeah, I mean,
I
it's definitely
always
an
thought
upbeat
that
sounding song.
Well,
I think it is because okay, I always thought Haiti, the song, was kind of akin to maybe how teenagers view rebellion. I think I think one of the things that people tend to, I mean, teenagers tend to do is over dramatize, dramatize. There you go, dramatize. Their lives and the problems they have to go through. And I always thought Haiti was thrown into this album to kind of reflect that, to show that their like inherent teen rebellion is like akin to like an actual rebellion. Um, and I thought that that was what the song was kind of going at.
Yeah, and
Um,
really fast. It could just be like, kind of like the pumped up kicks effect of having like a really kind of like a dark lyrics kind of behind like a really like upbeat sounding song.
yes. But at the same time, it does talk about. I mean, it also could just inherently be about the Haitian Revolution. And he's talking about the wounded mother throwing ashes into the sea, and they just interject with a bunch of French and we're hiding in the forest, a bunch of soldiers shooting up. So I mean, it also could be a song about the Haitian Revolution. So it's either that or I guess teenage comparisons. But either way, for an album about rebellion, um, I think this song is well put, and I think yeah, I think I agree. It does sound pretty, even if the subject content is not.
Yeah, I actually agree with the pumped up kicks thing, Quonset. I think the contrast is very purposeful because it seems like the song is kind of in perspective of a child. So I always thought it was like a child's perspective on fleeing this violence and hiding from soldiers. You know, like they don't really realize how truly horrible the world they're living is yet. And I think that's a big theme on the album because I think in Kettles he's talking about, oh, the state of the world, it's so bad, or like when you wake up, when you grow up, your hearts will get torn up, you know, when you truly realize how oppressive everything is, and how violent people are, how children die, and all these things about just this horror, like all this like premature death of like the kids in the song. And I think it's like just another kind of song about just growing up and just the state of the world and how horrible things are, and how that child mentality will like perceives these atrocities, you know. So I mean, yeah, definitely a pretty song. I really liked it.
Yeah, I mean, the song's two chords, you know, G, E minor, you know, it just goes back and forth the entire time. Waves in the background, you'd expect like a nice tropical beach, but no, it's talking about the Haitian Revolution. Just quick factoid: Ogine Chassain, who's the girl in the band, you'll hear her voice in the song. She's of Haitian descent, so yeah, she is Haitian. So, and I think it's a very personal song. I think you can hear this sort of personal touch. And as Gareth made a point earlier, it is very much from a childlike perspective, and I think one that very much parallels with the rest of this album, in the sense that everybody lives a different childhood, you know. But some people do live a childhood that's full of like war and oppression and whatnot. And I thought this song was a very, very eye-opening take on that. So yeah.
Yeah. The next song on the album is Rebellion Lies. Reese, you want to talk about this?
No,
Gareth,
you
you
guys
want
start
to
first.
Gareth, you talk about this.
Yeah, so this is kind of a huge theme of the album. Obviously, he talks about how he's running away from his parents, how you have to wake up, you don't have to listen to your parents. Like these parents disapprove of your relationships, you know, they're something's wrong with the heart of these adults. And even like the first line, he talks about how like they're telling you to sleep, kind of to be complacent, and how you have to rebel against that and kind of wake up, you know. And I think it also has to do with a lot with kind of being controlled by anything, you know. He talks about how people are trying to scare you into submission, and I think that has to do with maybe fear controlling your lives, you know. Like you can't let anything control your lives. You have to take control of your lives. You have to take the light out of your heart. You have to shoot lightning from your fingertips, and then you have to like you know, you just have to not care about this type of judgment or fear of like this kind of insecurity. Like don't let your insecurities control you. And I think that also has to do with the first one, where he's talking about how he wants to run away and let his hair grow long so that his friends and family can't judge him, you know. He wants to forget all his troubles, all his insecurities. And I think it's just a great song about just kind of rebelling against everything. It seems like everything's a lie. That's what they're saying. I don't think it's as unique as other songs, like instrumentally, but I kind of like the song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like it. I think it's definitely like it's a solid song on this album. Like not one of the best songs, not one of the worst songs. I like the background vocals on the hook, like the like I don't know, they're just kind of pretty, kind of nice.
They're saying lies. Like every time
lies.
you close your eyes, lies.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It sounds nice. I kind of like the hook on it. Again, it's really well polished, really well constructed track, and I kind of like the lyrical themes Gareth was talking about. It reminded me of A Serious Man, directed by the Coen brothers, 2009. But yeah, Lee, have any thoughts?
Yeah, I'll just focus on the line every time you close your eyes, because that's like half the song, lyrically speaking. But it's not actually, but you know, it's definitely the most prominent lyric for sure. I think it's just reflecting on the fact that every time you kind of turn away from something, things pass by or things might fly by your head. You know, people will lie to you. You know, you get misinformed. You know, it's important to pay attention, important to live your life. You know, don't let don't let, I mean, I guess like rebel against the people who are telling you lies, like rebelling against the system who's trying to control you. I think part of emphasizing this lyrics is like every time you turn away from what's actually going on, you're gonna miss it. You're gonna miss it. It's like the line from Ferris Bueller. But yeah, speaking on the song specifically, I do think it's not the best song. It's definitely a little bit more simple, starting with the bass line. I mean, um, but yeah, it's all right. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's amazing or anything like that, but yeah, it's still a good song.
Mhm. Reese.
Yeah, I mean, I like the song. I think the chorus is inherently pretty catchy, if not simplistic. I mean, um, sleeping is giving in no matter what the time. People say that you'll die faster than without water. I think that is possibly interesting. Um, but I mean, I think I agree with Gareth in the sense that like it's like kind of not letting your fears dictate your life. And I mean, a place in which you can never let your fears dictate your life is in your dreams. Unless you have a nightmare, then that's a L for you. But I mean, I don't know. I think it's just kind of like this idea of like rebelling, even if it's in your own head.
Mhm. All right. So now we're on the last song of the album, In the Backseat. Um, I like, once again, kind of similar to how like kind of love kind of like builds up. The song really builds up. It doesn't like kind of, no, this kind of song doesn't really build up to like that dramatic a finish. But I like kind of, it sounds very grand. I kind of like that. I think lyrically it's the same much the idea of like, all right, now it's your turn to take the driver's seat. Um, and yeah, I don't know, it's a pretty nice, I think it's a pretty nice outro to the album. It kind of, maybe that sums up the themes well, but it's a good like cap to everything that's all the themes that have been discussed in the album. It's like finally like you have to grow up now. And yeah, I don't know, it sounds nice and it's a good way to close the album.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It's kind of a softer song, I guess, at least to end the album on. Uh, I I think it could have to do with a lot about insecurity. It's easy to just live in the backseat, let someone else drive. Kind of not be fully present. I think it there's a good deal about that, but I also think it has to do with this person dying. She's kind of sad, like kind of scared to drive in the front seat
Alice.
and end up like Alice did. Uh, crashing and dying. I also think it's kind of like a kind of sad, kind of emotional song, maybe about this Alice person who died as well. Because the climax that it builds to is really really emotional as well, like pretty like impressive vocally too. She's kind of just like screaming and belting out these notes. It's really I kind of like this pretty chilling climax, and then it ends kind of softly, kind of sad, kind of pensive. I thought it was not like the best song to sum up the album, but I thought it was pretty good.
Reese?
Yeah, I mean, I like the song lyrically. I mean, I think it's quiet in the backseat. It's like peaceful in the backseat. I mean, I think that's inherently right. I mean, for a song, for like a whole album, kind of like surrounding this whole idea of rebellion and finding yourself. I think that this is one of the more tame versions of any of the songs in terms of subject matter, in the sense that I don't know, like there's I don't know if this makes sense, but there's like a time for rebellion and there's just a time for your own thoughts, and I think that's one thing that I think the song's kind of about. It's just you don't always have to be like on the rush to move ahead. Sometimes you can just like chill out and be peaceful. Additionally, I always like sitting in the back seat because it is comfy. I get to lay down.
Or shotgun's better. Shut up.
Bro, shotgun is worse
Yeah.
because I
Depends
don't
on the
have a
number of people in the
concealed.
car.
carry license.
If someone's driving and you have a choice between backseat and shotgun.
Huh?
If someone's driving the car and you have a choice between sitting backseat or shotgun.
Depends on how tired I am.
There's only one person. Other person besides you.
Oh, shotgun for sure.
Shotgun easily.
That's
yeah.
weird. That's a rule in my car.
What if I'm super sleepy?
Shotgun. You can sleep with shotgun.
No, I think
Kick your
it's
feet
like
up.
shotgun. You still like. I feel like you're kind of pressured into this conversation, you know. But like if you order a taxi, you're kind of just being driven around. You know, you don't have to worry about anything. You're just sitting in the back seat. You have all this space to yourself. You can just look at the side window, watch the view. You know. I think that's
Yeah,
kind of
you're
like,
not really inclined
but
to have a conversation if you're not sitting next to the person.
No, even
Yeah.
like an Uber, I'm sitting in the back seat. So like I gotta talk.
I'll finish the
Well,
album.
I ain't
Let's
talking
finish
to
the
them.
review. As for this song, for me personally, I think it honestly has. It feels like it has some Eastern influences. Kind of. I mean, it's not exactly like they use a very different like time way to keep time, but the instrumentation feels a little bit like like it would like it has some Eastern roots, which I think is kind of cool. Um, uh, as for the end of the album, um, I think it's fitting, just as like this kind of culmination. And yeah, death is very much a big part of this album, and death is very much a big part of this song, and um, I think that kind of in a very morbid kind of sense closes out the album in a sad way. You're like kind of look at your whole life and like what if it all kind of ended, you know, in
I
one
wish.
swoop. So which is I didn't really hear what you said, Reese, but yeah, it all kind of ends in one swoop, and I do think it ends up a very good album. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so now for final thoughts. I'll start it off. I haven't done a lot of talking in this review. I think this is a good example of an album that I can acknowledge that is objectively good, but just feel like my personal taste doesn't really hit the mark. It's a little too polished, a little too clean cut, a little too corny and cheesy with the themes and the sounds of it. Lyrically, it's a little too like vague to like really make me feel anything. Even though as a suburban kid, I really should be like understanding the lyrics a lot. A lot of songs like sound good, not good enough for me to like really like for me to really be like wowed by anything. Um, but it's not bad. So like I enjoy listening to the album, but it just doesn't really. And I've heard this album like 5 times now straight through. And every time I listen to it, it never really makes that much of it. I always listen to it, and while I'm listening to it, I'm enjoying it. And by the time I'm done, I just forget about it, and it doesn't really, never really makes an impact on me. So it's hard for me to really like talk about this album, I guess, because I acknowledge that it's good. It's technically good. It's just not anything that I personally really like about it too much. Besides a couple, like besides "Kind of Love," I guess. I don't really go back to this album at all since the first time I heard it. That's for this review. So I guess I'd give it a 7. I want to kind of give it an 8, but like that's where you get kind of
I think that's a fair judgment from what
Yeah.
you said. Yeah, for sure. I guess I'll go next. As for me, I think I have a very different outlook on this album. I do very much find it to be a good album. As Quan said, like if you want to say objectively, I don't think objective will be the right word, but I definitely understand what you're going for.
it sounds good. Like just I'm like, yeah, it sounds pretty.
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely heard. I've heard every single one of Arcade Fire's albums. I think this does have a very special spot in my heart because it was my first. Um, I'm gonna kind of agree with Quan in the sense that it is a little bit too clean cut and it's a little bit too like sometimes as we've discussed, the songs are very different. Like inherently, you listen to them, they're different, but for some reason they all get wrapped up in my head. That's kind of my like this. That's kind of my criticism towards it. But overall, I really enjoy this album. I think Arcade Fire does it. I mean, I guess Quan said he didn't really. I think the lyrics were. What word do you use?
I said vague. In the sense
I
that
don't think
like
they're too vague.
there aren't that many like memorable the lines aren't specifically memorable, and I feel like they kind of refer to like general ideas as opposed to like making like
I know, but I
interesting
mean, I
statements.
think it's multidimensional for sure. They're taking like you can take it one direction where you're just kind of looking at it in the sense of a kid like living through his life, or you can take it in a worldly sense. I think a lot of artists just do one or the other. I don't think it's ever both. You know, I don't think at least the poetic analysis of some of these songs is you can get really in depth. I think we all kind of got really in depth. As much as you may have said you didn't talk a lot, I think we all did say a decent amount about this album, lyrically speaking. Yeah, but yeah, I think this album is a very good listen. I highly recommend it. I give it, let's go 7.9 out of 10.
Wait, Kwong gave it a higher rating.
No,
I
he
guess
gave it
7.
7.
Just
I
to
think
clarify
it
really
was
fast, by vague, I meant I like the idea of a song, but just in terms of like line by line, like I didn't think it was that like I thought it wasn't like and it didn't really make an impact on me like the way that like
Oh,
the
I
thought
see, I see.
like chew your meat for you. They're like, oh, that's a cool line. There's no
Oh,
like
I see. I feel okay. That makes more sense. Okay, got it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess yeah, when Quan listens to gangster rap, he's like, yo, that hits me. That hits me at
I mean,
home,
well,
bro.
no, but I mean, like there's some good wordplay, there's some good imagery, and like some Jay-Z
No,
songs.
that makes sense. But I think that one of the things that's interesting about Arcade Fire, I think in this album, and I think more, at least subjectively, in their second album, but I think also in this album, there's this idea in which they use typical like I don't know suburban tropes
Neon
and
Bible,
what
Neon Bible, or the suburbs.
suburbs.
Oh, okay.
Is there an
Um,
album after this that's not Neon Suburbs like the
yeah,
third
yeah.
album, right?
Yeah. It's Funeral, Neon Bible, Suburbs.
Oh, okay, so third album. But I think that oh right, there's a second album. I totally forgot about that one. Anyway, I think it turns like these tropes and these, I guess, stereotypical like situations into something possibly more meaningful, or at least interpreting them as something very meaningful. Like, and I think it relates to a certain type of audience in a way that a lot of bands don't attempt to. Um, because a lot of these things are kind of just seen as facts of life, but this Arcade Fire kind of just takes these things that maybe should or maybe be facts of life, just growing up, or just I don't know, just literally just growing up, and makes it to be something that is really important to everyone. I think that's inherently interesting in an album. I think that there is something to be said how each song kind of didn't have a cohesive pattern. Each song kind of offered something different, which is interesting lyrically, but kind of weird musically. But anyway, I like the album. I give it 7.5.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I think lyrically I think it did a pretty good job. I don't think Kwan's getting enough credit. I kind of like the imagery, you know. The first one talks about spreading like the ashes of the colors over his heart. I thought that was pretty interesting, you know, in contrast to that snow, just to show that he's been given hope. I thought that was really interesting lyric. I like the police disco lights, you know, the dancing to police. I thought that was pretty fun, in Laïka as well. You know, I like the whole power out metaphor as well. I thought that was pretty interesting as well. But yeah, I even like the flowers growing in the grave, or like comparing love to cancer as well. I thought that was all pretty interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how to. And that's why I said like part of it was that it is like subjective, I guess, in the sense that like I don't know. I
I
guess this big person like they didn't like stick. Like, these lines weren't like
like I thought it
wow.
was a pretty original way to say the things they're trying to say. You know,
Yeah, the lines you brought up were pretty good. But
like even when he says like in waking up, he's like, oh, we're just all little gods, and then like it ends in that uplifting where he's like, we can shoot lightning from our hands, we can show like we can take control, like as a way to show that they're kind of taking control of their lives and stuff, you know.
I don't know. It's weird. It's kind of subjective, right? But just like
Yeah.
I hear a lot like that. Like the one you just brought up, for example, I'm not impressed for some.
Yeah. I still like the imagery of the other ones that I brought up. But I thought it was pretty interesting. I liked how cohesive it was thematically. Even like I know we said the last song didn't really summarize it that well, but you know, I think it has to do more with about I thought it was a really good album about growing up and just kind of the trauma and the problems you have to deal with just growing up. Even the last song just talking about death and how you're afraid of taking control because like just living in grief is so sad and stuff like that. I thought it was pretty emotional album. I liked it. I thought it was pretty successful. I do agree that it does feel a bit too polished, you know, that kind of comes off a little bizarre sometimes. But I'd give it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah. Did you give it a better score lead than Nevermind?
I did.
Dang.
By 0.1.
Dang.
By 0.1. It's a 7.9. I gave Nevermind a 7.8. I don't know, maybe there is some personal influence in there, but I definitely do think this is a better album. Like, okay, not by much. Not by much. Obviously not by much. I give it a 7.9.
Yeah. I mean, I give Nevermind a 9. I give this a 7. It's like a 2-point spread, but yeah. Yeah, I feel it. I think that's the end of our video. Thank you for watching. Quarantine should be ending soon.
It's good to be back.
Or I've just jinxed it, so we'll see. But yeah, see you next time.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.